at. So community colleges can be really flexible and are highly utilized by all of our students. Universities of California, we often abbreviate these schools as UCs. UCs, University of California, same thing. There are 9 campuses in California that you have access to after high school. So there aren't going to be as many that are close. The 2 closest are going to be, UC Berkeley and UC Santa Cruz, right? Those are going to be the 2 closest ones for our students. California State Universities, they are abbreviated as CSUs. There are 23 of them. There are quite a few more. So there are a lot more local ones. There's going to be CSU East Bay. There's going to be San Jose State University. There's going to be Sonoma State, quite a few, San Francisco State, that are all within our local area. When it comes to deciding or looking at these schools, many of the degrees between a UC and CSU are the same. You could get a bachelor's of biology at both of those schools. It's going to be about a variety of factors when it comes to the type of experience that you want as to if you'll apply to a UC or CSU, but we just want you to know that there are quite a few more CSUs in case you're really thinking of staying local. At the bottom there, we have a bit more advanced ones. So maybe if you haven't learned any new information, this will be new at the bottom. There's liberal arts colleges, out-of-state public colleges, and conservatory art colleges. Let's actually start off with out-of-state public colleges. This is going to be where that 2 price difference comes into play, right? For that top tier, basically, for the universities of California and CSUs, you're getting in-state tuition. You're getting that lower price. That's nice. Out-of-state public colleges, you have to pay out-of-state tuition. It's going to be a much higher price, okay? Many of our students apply to these types of schools. There are a variety of them. They're looking for different things. There's Arizona State University. There's University of Arizona that has amazing programs. There's also University of Michigan at Ann Arbor. So they have different levels of programs, of size, of how expensive they are. Liberal arts colleges, they're on the lower left-hand side. This is one of the frequently most misunderstood types of colleges. Liberal arts does not mean that you will be studying fine art. It means that you will be studying interdisciplinary topics. So if you're someone who's interested in studying calculus and also fine art, liberal arts colleges can combine a variety of topics seamlessly and can be really wonderful for you to check out. There are many liberal arts colleges in the US. And then lastly, we have conservatories and art colleges. So we have freestyle here at Mountain View in Los Altos. It's a really great program where you get to dip your toes into a variety of very specific art disciplines. So we have a bunch of students who are interested in really studying an art topic in detail. And it can be a visual art or it can be a performing art. And if you go to this type of school, you would be studying all art all of the time. Like you wouldn't have to take a math or a science class probably. An example of this type of school would be like the school that a lot of like Pixar animators go to for school, Cal Arts in Southern California, or for my future musicians, Boston Conservatory or Berklee College of Music. You'd be doing that art all the time, and you would have to really love it. I also see in very tiny font, sorry about how small this is, depending on the size of your screen, beware of for-profit colleges. This actually applies to any of my students, or our students, but particularly for art colleges, there are a bunch of schools where they're not nonprofit, they are for-profit. And a for-profit school is going to be what it sounds like, where they are focused on making a profit and not necessarily their college experience. So, what is it? Academy of Art University in San Francisco, or University of Art University in San Francisco, has a 3% employment rate for their students. That is not a good employment rate for my students. So that would not be a school that I would recommend that you spend your money and time at. And that unfortunately is not limited to schools like that. So, yeah.
I have one thing to add here for out-of-state public. just putting it on your radar that there's the Western Undergraduate Exchange, and we sometimes refer to it as WUI. So if you're curious to see which schools participate in the WUI, you can type that into Google, and we can drop a link in the chat if people are curious, but that gives you a discounted rate on out-of-state tuition. It's still more expensive than in-state, but only 150%. So it's still something to look into, and there are specific campuses that participate, and then sometimes specific majors. So something to look into.
Excellent.
Cool. All right, I'm going to go on to the next slide. Thank you, Ms. Lowe. Okay, so again, this is college basics, and we really want to discuss why students go to college, right? And there are different motivations for different people, and it's just important to discuss that so that we're not making assumptions. So a lot of students go to college for the credential. That's the focus on employability and training for a future career. So in order to have certain careers or do certain jobs, you need to have a very specific credential, like Ms. Lowe was saying, the AA degree or the bachelor's degree, and then advanced degrees for certain jobs as well. But students can also want to go to college for kinship. So kinship is this opportunity to meet new people, expand your network, create lifelong relationships. And so if that is important to you, then you're also thinking, what kind of environment, what place would allow me to both get my credential, but also develop kinship with others? And then the last one is this concept of a true education. So beyond the credential, you're able to work with professors, you're getting new experiences. Maybe it's study abroad, maybe it's some research experience, maybe it's living in a different part of the country, and understanding the cultural implications of that wherever you decide to go. Are there opportunities to work near campus, but in a major center that focuses on a certain area, or industries that are located in certain parts of the country? And then just also a place for you to personally develop. So sometimes we draw these 3 different sized buckets, and it's this idea of maybe you want to push yourself a bit beyond where you're at now. So it's not just too easy, but at the same time, you don't want to push yourself so far beyond that you're not able to focus on that credential or the kinship or having a positive education, because you're stretching yourself so far that it's overwhelming and you're not able to really thrive in the environment that you're choosing. So those are 3 reasons why students go to college, and some of these might be more important to you than others, and that's just something that you can own in those college meetings that you have with us a little later down the line. And then how do students decide where to go to college? And I think this can actually be the hardest question beyond, there's a lot of fear around, will I get in? But if you're doing it right, you're going to have options. And so how do you actually decide? So this is the kind of place where you want to lean into your preferences. Do you have a preference on location? Do you have a preference on your major? Do you want to be able to drive home? Or are you excited about the idea that you'd need to fly from home to school? Any type of preferences. Do you want a school with a thriving Greek life or a thriving sports teams so that you can go participate and have a lot of school spirit? Or do you want the opposite, right? Do you want not to be Greek life? Do you not want there to be a very strong sports scene? So just really identifying what preferences you might have. And then cost is definitely a factor. We've mentioned it a few times now, but we know that college both is an investment of your time, it's an investment of your energy, and there's an actual cost associated with it. And so really thinking about having conversations with your family and then asking us questions and doing a little bit of research. So on our College and Career Center websites, we have information about the cost of college. Every year we have the Countdown for College event in the spring, and there's some YouTube recordings that you can just familiarize yourself with what is paying for college going to look like, what does that involve, and then ways to save money. And then another reason why students decide how they decide where to go to college is personal support. So where will you be? Will you have family nearby, your support network? And again, is this going to be a place where you can really see yourself feeling pushed outside of your comfort zone, but also supported enough to really thrive while you're there? And these are definitely conversations that we have with students once they hear back from their colleges. And I'm going to pass it back to Ms. Lowe.
All right. The college preferences category is going to be a bunch of the factors that we have in our experience and in a lot of experts' experience is what students are using to identify, what would best support them and what are they considering and weighing when it comes to what they're looking for in college, right? What do you need after high school for this? You probably didn't get a whole lot of choice in where you went to high school, but now when it comes to college, you have all of these choices and there are actually thousands of options to choose from. So it can be really overwhelming. But here are the factors, that are the preferences that almost all of our students use when it comes to how to pick out a college. So I'll focus on some of these bullet points, not all of them. Affordability is a big factor. College is really expensive. There are some colleges now that are getting, unfortunately, very close to the $100,000 a year price tag, which is just a lot of money. There are other colleges that are far more affordable than that or offer great scholarships. So that's definitely something that students think a lot about. Location and setting often end up being a lot more important once you've actually been admitted and you're thinking, okay, am I actually into the idea of spending 6 hours on a plane to go home for Thanksgiving or to go home if I just need a home cooked meal, right? That's a long way to go in order to get a home cooked meal. A lot of students end up going about an hour and a half away from home, or they go much farther, right? And then setting can have a lot of influence on your college experience. Very urban places like New York City, because it's so urban and there are so many things to do, it can actually really affect the community, right? People aren't as connected at campuses that are like that, where there might not be like a central campus, or there are just hundreds of things to do because you have access to a city, versus a rural campus where, yes, you are surrounded by a cornfield. But in exchange for that, colleges know that they have to organize a lot of activities, and you end up running into the same people all of the time. And it creates a really strong community. You end up knowing a lot of the people you go to school with, which can really help with kinship and later on networking, which can really help you get a job. Majors and curriculum, we're going to get a bit more into in the next slide, but majors and what you have access to study can be really important. And there are so many colleges that have very unique experiences as far as what you study in the US. There's the College of Atlantic, where everyone studies the same major, human ecology, and that's what people study and graduate with a degree in. And it's just a very interdisciplinary degree. And then there are schools like Arizona State University, which I already mentioned. They have hundreds, I think, of majors. They have so many different combinations of very particular things that you can study. So they can really vary quite a bit. That last bullet point, I think, is really interesting. So sometimes students are considering diversity, religious affiliation, same gender, fine arts, women's colleges, right? Women's colleges can offer really unique experiences. There are also men's colleges, right? Sometimes studying with the same gender can be a really valuable experience for you if maybe you haven't been able to find your own voice in a classroom because you felt too intimidated to talk in front of certain kinds of students. So yeah, next slide. Okay, how should I pick my future major, what I want to study? This is what a lot of students, for my juniors who are in here, I think this is something that can be really intimidating. But that first bullet point is what you should definitely start with. Reflect on your current academic interests and strengths. So if you really enjoy math, check out all of the things in the STEM field, right? Even if you know that you enjoy an element of science or that's something that really perks you up, being in the area of STEM would just be such a valuable place to be of, knowing that you want to study some type of science or technology or math, that in and of itself can really help your college search. Just because you don't know the specific name of it, that's okay. We want to be able for you to have a variety of things that you're pretty sure you're interested in, because about a third of people in college actually change their major. It's very common. It doesn't make it any easier in picking it now, but use what you really enjoy studying now to determine what you're going to enjoy studying later, because college ends up just amplifying the difficulty of any subject matter in high school. Two really great resources are College Board Big Future and another article that we have linked there. Perhaps we could get those in the chat if you're able to, Ms. Duran. When it comes to just exploring around and linking your interests to things that are happening at college. I think also talking to people, talking to adults of different ages in particular, can be really nice to get an idea of what did this person study in college versus the job that they do now, right? Some teachers are really great to talk to about this. I think it can be helpful to talk to younger people as well. If you have an older cousin, maybe, or some family friends who just finished college, they have very current insight as to what things are like. And you will probably find that a lot of people, what they studied is not related to their current job. That happens quite a bit. But it can be really helpful to talk to some people who have lived experience. And right, I already mentioned many people change what they want to actually study in college. A third is quite a few people. Believe it or not, a bunch of colleges have an undecided major or an exploratory major where you apply underneath that major, or sometimes you don't have to apply with a particular major, and it lets you explore different academic topics. All four-year colleges are going to have you study a variety of different topics in order to graduate. Those are typically called general education requirements. So you still have to take a math course, an English course, an art course. You have to study different disciplines, and that can really help you explore different majors and will be part of that undecided major experience. And like I mentioned, right, if you're someone who likes math or science, great, you're in the area of STEM. It's better to have an area that you like and have a more broad major like physics, rather than, oh, I need to know that I specifically want to study materials, engineering, science, right? As long as you know you're within the realm, that's going to be much more helpful when it comes to getting hired, when it comes to, what you're studying. It's okay to be broad. You're going to get more options that way. Oh, and when it comes to people officially deciding the major that they want, a bunch of people at least know the area. Officially decided before their senior year of college. Most students officially decide the area of their major the summer before their senior year of college. Did we mean senior year of high school? Yes.
Yes, maybe. But I don't, maybe it's a question mark. So that I think not. So that kind of goes to, not every college requires students to decide straight away. Some allow students to have up until like their third year to make that decision.
Yeah.
And we've heard from different college reps that students, I think their data was like around 80% change their major in college. So it's very common to switch once you're there too.
Yeah. You will find as you talk to people like me or Ms. Duran more and more that things can really vary from college to college and where you're applying. So when it comes to actually like your senior year or your second semester, junior year, and figuring out what you want to study, where you want to apply, we're going to have advice that varies depending on what you're interested in, depending on your goals, depending on the types of schools that you want to apply to. Because there are definitely those schools where like most people change their major, and that is totally fine. And then there are some where you really, particularly in our UC and CSU system, where you have to kind of pick your major. All right, I think the next one is you, Ms. Duran.
Yes, it is. Okay, so Ms. Lowe and I are going to work on getting some links into the chat. And if you direct message a question to us, we'll definitely bring those up in the Q&A portion. Okay, so I'm going to talk about what students can do now. We're talking a lot about, overview, but actual tangible items that we would love for you to start right now. First thing, please create an activities list. Regardless of what grade you're in, you create a Google form, or we have template resumes that you can use, but you want to reflect back to when you started high school. What did you do in 9th grade? How many hours per week? How many weeks per year? You can guesstimate, but write that down and then take some time and do a couple bullet points. How did you decide to join that activity, or what keeps you participating? What's something that you've learned about yourself or others through participation? And then just keep updating it. Bonus points if you end up dropping that into your Naviance account under About Me resume. You can just drop a link, make sure that if it's a Google Doc, that you've created it so that anyone with link can view. Then that's something called like set it and forget it. You just keep updating that document. And then in 11th grade, when you're meeting with a college counselor or you're talking to your school counselor about a letter of recommendation, they can just go in there and see that information. Often students are applying for summer opportunities, and sometimes they require a teacher letter of recommendation. If you have that activities list already up and running, it's going to save you time, and you're not going to have to go back through your mind and think about it, or perhaps even forget something that you've done because you just didn't write it down. So please do that today if you don't already have one. And if you already have one, take some time and actually update it, including everything that you did this last year. Okay. So if you're there, if you're in the Zoom right now and you're thinking, like I don't really have much to put on a Google Doc. I was just focused on school this year. I didn't really do much outside. That's fine. But now is the call to action to get involved in something. So it could be a school club. It could be volunteering in the community. You could be getting a part-time job. You could do a self-directed project, or you could be training in some type of area. If you're unsure of which direction to take, we are all offering summer college advising hours. You can go on Calendly and find our link and make an appointment to chat about it, or you can send an email, and we would love to help guide you to some opportunities. Our college websites, both at Mountain View and Los Altos, have opportunities that are listed, and we are sharing those with students throughout the school year. So again, if there's any questions, please let us know. But even if it's not already listed on something, if there's something that sparks your interest, or you've been to a museum that you like that's nearby, or you always liked going to the specific place, you can reach out and see if they're looking for volunteers or even hiring students for the summer. Okay, third bullet point, self-reflect. It's not just what you're doing or the classes that you're taking, but it's really getting present on why did you like that class, or what didn't you like about that class, or what did you like about that project, or what didn't you like about that project. In the college application process, you're going to need to articulate your experience to somebody that's not going to be able to meet you necessarily. And so the better you get at describing your experience or making self-reflective connections, the easier the college application process is going to be, the stronger you're going to interview when you're going for a job, or you're going for a summer program, or even when you're talking to a teacher about, why you want a specific opportunity or how they might be able to support you in expanding your learning. If you can articulate what you're interested in, that's going to just allow people to really support you. So getting some clarity around that. And then I've already mentioned it earlier, but high school is really a place where we want you to push outside of your comfort zone. We want you to take calculated risks, and that is going to help you build your muscles of being slightly uncomfortable. It's going to build your confidence, and that's really going to make a difference when you transition from high school into whatever comes next, that you've already had some of that practice. And then really engage. Summer is a perfect opportunity for you to get on some of these college websites. You can fill out the interest forms. You can look to see what kind of virtual events they're hosting. Every college that I've looked at this summer with a student is doing some type of outreach. So whether it be a webinar, or maybe they're offering virtual tours of campus, or it's a discussion with current students. Look on websites, It will help you gain more familiarity. It will build your vocabulary around college, and it will also get you on the court playing the game of research and connecting. So we definitely want you engaging. And if you need support with that, please also reach out to us. We'd be happy to help. Okay, next slide is how many colleges should I apply to? And we hear this a lot. There isn't a magic number, but we do recommend that you keep it below 20, including UCs and CSUs, which we sort of count as one because it's one application. So a lot of times parents or students will hear somebody saying, oh, I'm applying to 36 colleges, or, oh, I'm applying to 40 colleges. We do not recommend that. And we feel like that would require more of a conversation. Like, why do you think you need to apply to that many schools? Is that because you're just kind of throwing spaghetti at the wall and just applying to colleges sort of without doing the research? Or is there a fear around, are you going to get in somewhere? In which case we can definitely work on giving you a realistic sense of what school is a likely, which school is a target, and which school's a reach. And a common error is thinking that if you apply to more selective schools, then your likelihood of getting into one of those increases. And the reality is schools that admit less than 10% of students typically have several supplemental essay questions, and they are really expecting that each question is thoroughly answered, that you're investing a lot of time into that application. And it's just not realistic to be able to do that type of application well if you're doing a bunch of them. And often we see students investing most of their time in those less than 10% schools at the expense of the schools that would be a really great likely for them or a target, because they're investing so much time and energy into those schools that have a super low admit rate. Now, this is all just general kind of information that I'm giving, but it is something that we will work with you and your family on together. But please don't fall into the belief that you have to apply to a lot of colleges. It feels really good when you apply to a reasonable number of colleges, and then you have a bunch of great options, but you've researched those schools, and then you can really narrow it down, and all of those other preferences check off. Like, you can afford it, you know that you'd be well supported there, you're excited to go. So that also says if you put a college on your list and you get in, but you're like, oh, I would never go there, don't apply to that college, right? So be excited about the schools you're actually applying to. And next slide is, what are some mistakes that students should avoid in the college search or application process? We've said it several times, but not actually looking at the cost of college or not having a conversation with your family about what that might look like. So definitely having that conversation and doing some research now. You should not put a college on your list because your best friend or 10 of your best friends are applying there, but you've done no research about it and you don't know what academic programs they offer, and you don't know why you would apply there. So definitely, if there's a college that you're interested in and one of us were to ask you, oh, why is that college on your list? You should be able to answer very quickly why you have that school on your list. And it shouldn't be, oh, my friends are applying there. My friend said it's cool college. You don't want to leave things to the last minute. So what can you as a rising 10th or 11th grader do? You can stay aware, going to the ACT workshops that we offer, participating in the webinars. You're here, so you're already doing what we'd love, and then reading the bulletins. And then definitely asking questions when you're unsure. We can sometimes speak quickly. We can sometimes use acronyms that are unfamiliar. Slow us down, us and also the college reps. If they're saying something and you're like, I have no idea what they're talking about, you could just say, could you pause there? Like, I'm not sure what EFC means, or I don't know what that means with paying for college. And we're happy to pause and slow down and explain it to you. And then while social media can be very useful for some things, it can also be dangerous, right? So if you are on Reddit and you're reading something about this is exactly how you should apply to this particular school, and this is your guarantee to get in, like red flag, red flag, red flag. But there's also some information that can be useful. So if you are unsure, I would definitely say come talk to one of us on campus. And if we've been saying something over and over again, like really trust us when we're telling you that information, even if you see something on TikTok or other social media platforms that contradict that, trust us. All right. And I'm going to pass it back to Heather.
All right. So what are colleges looking for in the admissions process when you're being evaluated as an applicant, right? This is something that a lot of students, maybe your parents, are very curious about, and it can be really tempting to think that there's like a special kind of formula that you have to follow, and it's going to be like 100%. That is not the case. What colleges look for in admissions when they're trying to decide to admit you or not can vary quite a bit depending on the particular college that you're applying to. For most colleges, that top of the little pyramid, the academic fit category is going to be the most important piece to them because, right, they're basing how you're going to be a student at their university or college based off of how you were a student in high school. So what classes did you take in high school? Did you take advanced classes? Is there rigor in your transcript? How did you do over the course of high school? Did you improve? Based on what you've studied, do they think that you would be prepared for their college or university? Academic fit is going to be really important to them, and they can phrase it or frame it in a variety of different ways, but typically that piece is going to be one of the most significant pieces to them. Interests. So when it comes to your interests and what you've done outside of the classroom, it really is powerful to colleges if you've done things with what you're interested in outside of the classroom, whether that's stamp collecting, whether it's thrifting and you're interested in fashion, whether it's actually doing something with a local community organization to do film for them and actually using your film skills, right? There are a variety of ways for you to exercise your interests outside of the classroom and show that you've actually done things with them. So that I know can take some courage putting yourself out there, but it really shows that you're ready to explore and be part of their campus with what you've done, because they're trying to consider what would the student do here as part of our campus community. And then personal qualities. In that category, there can be a variety of different things that they're looking for. How would you add to their community or their school culture? Are you someone who's been embracing like your family's culture through cooking, or have you been like rehabilitating local neighborhood animals, right? There's a variety of things that are kind of personal about you, and also like kind of overlap with interest in terms of like, what are you going to bring to their campus? So what this slide should share with you is, right, Mr. Ann was mentioning they really want to see that you're involved, that you're really doing a variety of things while you're in high school. It should show in this slide that high school is important and the classes that you take are important, number one. They also do care about what you do outside of the classroom. So whatever you did last year at Mountain View or Los Altos, if you could step it up in some way this year, get more involved, put yourself out there more, explore other things that you've been interested in, but you've been too afraid to apply to, that would be great as well. Next slide. Is this one's me? Yeah, this is me. Okay. Other things that they might look for. So this second slide is getting even more detailed, even more advanced information. You guys are going to know quite a bit after today. Diversity. They might really be looking for students from Northern California. You're in luck. Or they might really be looking for a trombone player. Once again, you're in luck. Or perhaps they really have no students from the state of Hawaii or Nebraska. That can actually be something that does change your admissions chances. So it depends on your background, and maybe you're someone that they happen to be looking for. Specific talents. There are a variety of things that you can do and be really good at. I've had quite a few talented athletes at Mountain View, or musicians, people who started their own businesses, right? Exploring the things that you are good at and embracing them and excelling at them can be really helpful, not just for exploring what you love to do, but also potentially they might really like that on a college application. And then that last bubble, demonstrated interest. So demonstrated interest is going to be something that really only specific colleges look for. Typically, it's going to be private colleges. What demonstrated interest means is kind of what it sounds like. It means that you have demonstrated interest in a campus by engaging with them in different ways. Did you attend a college fair and stop by their booth? Did you attend their visit when they were at Los Altos or when they were at Mountain View? Did you go to their website? Did you open their emails? If a college is tracking demonstrated interest, it's a college that is tracking some type of engagement from you as a student, and they are using it just as like a little bump on your application to be like, this student has actually spent time engaging with our campus. They are more likely to come. So if you are interested in knowing if it's something you should be spending time doing, which I think time is very important when you're in high school, there's a lot that you can be doing. I would first of all check out, does a campus track demonstrated interest? If they do, great. Find out how they track it. They will often share it with you. This is not like something that you have to keep secret. You can just ask them, do you consider demonstrated interest when you're evaluating applicants? And they will tell you yes, and they will tell you no. Typically, schools that are public or schools that are very, very competitive are typically not going to track demonstrated interest because they have so many people interested in them that it's not something that they to consider. Schools that are using demonstrated interest are often going to be schools where they're not necessarily quite as selective kind of schools, but they're still really good schools. Like I bet Lafayette College tracks demonstrated interest because they're also in a state that, you know, Pennsylvania does have a lot of students who want to go to college, but not everyone there goes to college. So they also kind of want to know, would you come? That's part of the element of demonstrated interest. So yeah. All right, I believe the next slide is you, Mr. Ann. Yes.
Yeah, I'm going to move through this one quickly. So we just wanted to share a couple facts. And the facts are most colleges admit most students who apply. So again, we often fixate on the colleges that are very rejective, that only admit a small portion of students that apply, but the vast majority of colleges across the country admit more students than they deny. So they have more than a 50% admit rate. Okay, fact number 2, 37.9% of Americans aged 25 or older have a bachelor's degree. So we are definitely living in a bubble with how many people have college degrees in our immediate area, but across the country, that number is only 37.9%. So when we're talking about this college or that college, any college degree is going to put you in that percentage of students. So just keeping that in mind as well when you're thinking about this process. Third fact, many colleges do reward strong academic performance in high school. So strong academic performance in high school can lead to merit scholarships, or it could lead to honors programs, which could give you priority enrollment or give you a unique opportunity to do some research. So just remember, like all of the hard work that you're putting into your classes, colleges, they will reward that in different ways. And the fourth fact, Fortune 500 CEOs, members of Congress, medical doctors, if you look at where they went to school, there's a lot of diversity. You don't see just the same 4 to 10 colleges or universities. You see that people in important roles went to a variety of different schools. So also remembering that our society would not function if only graduates from 10 colleges were in the workforce. Okay, so I'm going to actually introduce it, Ms. Lowe. I know you were going to, but we're going to play Name That College. So this is an interactive game for the folks who are in participating. We are going to give some information about the college, And in the chat, you're going to guess which college or university we're describing. And either it's a yes or it's a no, but hopefully you have some fun and you learn something in the process. All right, so we're going to get started. The first school that we're introducing has very strong pre-professional tracks, including pre-med, pre-law, pre-dental. This school has an 85 to 100% acceptance rate to graduate schools if you go to this undergraduate college. So if you go here and then you apply to grad school, you have an 85 to 100% chance of getting in, which is very high. One of a handful of colleges that require a major and a minor program of study. So if you go here, you have a major and a minor required. Also unique, 100% of students live on campus. So everyone that attends this school lives on campus. And all seniors complete a senior project in a relevant field and have a faculty advisor for all 4 years. So let's see, name the college. All right, so let's get some people in the chat before I reveal at least a couple guesses.
Just
College.
off the top of your head. Yeah.
It's okay to be wrong.
It is. On the East Coast too. I don't know if we mentioned that. East Coast. So not local.
No guesses? Okay, for this first one, I'm going to move on, but I want you all to warm up for the next, because we have 2 more and it's not super fun if you don't participate. It's way more fun if you participate. Okay, so the college is Allegheny in Pennsylvania. And this is in a town of about 13,000 people. But again, super cool programs, some images below. And if you're like, oh, that actually sounds pretty cool, I think I want to go into a pre-professional program. I like the idea of having an 85 to 100% chance of getting in somewhere. And I like the idea of living on campus and really being able to connect with other people so that kinship value is high. We suggest that you check out Allegheny. Okay, Heather, you want to do the next one?
All right. So we have next slide. Okay. This one's a bit bigger. So maybe you guys are familiar with this one. It is a college town and state capital. So these are always fun because you get access to a bunch of government jobs when you're in a state capital, which can be really great for my future politicians. It's referred to as a public Ivy, which is a bit snobby, but is meant to be associated with universities that are public and that have like the quality, a very high quality of education is what that's supposed to mean. They have lots of D1 sports, so lots of rah-rah. So if you want to go to a sports game, go here. Look at those strong programs. They have quite a few. Investment banking is very specific and finance is kind of very specific. So they must have a pretty big business school, economics, biology. Any guesses? Anyone? They have the largest farmers market in the summer. Okay, so someplace with a big agricultural scene and then an epic snowball fight in the winter. So, right, colleges can have very unique traditions, and this one sounds pretty fun. If not, might get a little bruised from an epic snowball fight. This place is in the Midwest. Anyone? Okay, UCLA and UCSD were guesses before the snowball fight. Yes, that would have made sense before the snowball fight. And the Midwest piece, I am giving hints. Purdue, I love that guess. I love that guess. UC Davis, also a bit hard with the snow, but Purdue is a really good guess, actually. It's a really good one. All right, next slide. It is University of Wisconsin-Madison. You can tell I love this game. I get very excited about it. So much more robust size of town, right? You're going to experience some seasons, but there is going to be a bunch of winter in there. And right, it's great for future aspiring politicians because what you get access to there is going to be wonderful. And if you really like schools with school spirit, University of Wisconsin-Madison is a great option. All right, Mr. Ann, next one, all you.
Okay, so this is an East Coast college founded in 1870. It has 4,070 undergraduate students. The average salary after finishing undergrad is $75,400, which is pretty high. And that was for the class of 2021. It has tons of cutting edge research and facilities. And it's a 35-minute public transportation ride to Broadway if you want to go catch a show. There are strong programs in mechanical, biomed, data science, computer engineering, AI, machine learning, financial systems, cybersecurity. So it's a technical school. I'm giving a hint here. Any other guesses before we reveal? Those are two very good guesses in the
Great
in the
guess.
chat.
And what you?
Okay, I'm going to reveal. It is Stevens Institute of Technology in New Jersey. So if you see here, this is the campus. And then right across, you're looking at Manhattan. And it's in Hoboken, New Jersey. And the population is 58,690. It's a thriving city in New Jersey. So if you're also interested in like financial kind of stuff, like this is a great place to be. So if you are looking to be in New York or very close, Stevens has some amazing programs. Heather, Miss Lowe, would you like to add anything about Stevens?
I actually went to college in New York City, so I am very opinionated. I'm not sure if that's obvious yet about New York City college experiences, and Stevens, because it's really close to New York. I think it's one of like the best balances is to be very close to it, so you have access to it, but you also have like a smaller community where you know more of the people. And Hoboken is slightly more affordable than New York City, and that's always a plus. And they also are just really well known for getting their graduates really great jobs. So yeah, great place. All right, some resources.
Thanks everyone for playing.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, Mr. Ann. We dropped the CCC websites in the chat there in our activities list that are much more up to date during the year. The college essay guide, when you are a second semester junior, is going to be a great resource to check out. Our YouTube channels are also really helpful. College websites, that top bullet point, the most up-to-date set of information is there. These colleges change so frequently, particularly since the pandemic, that what someone is telling you from 5 years ago could be very different today. So always go there first when you're checking out those resources. We are kind of running low on time, but maybe Mr. Ann can stay later than I can. But if people do want to unmute themselves to ask a question or two, if students want to ask questions or two, that is what we are here for. Do we want to turn off the recording for this part now, Mr.
Sure.
Ann? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the last thing I just want to say, which is, I know we said don't